The morning sun cast long shadows across the central plaza of New Haven Colony. Children laughed and played while their parents watched from nearby benches. The sound of alien music mixed with human voices as different species went about their daily business. Commander Jake Morrison stood at his office window on the third floor of the Colonial Administration Building and smiled at the peaceful scene below. 3 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Federation. New Haven was one of the first mixed colonies where humans and aliens lived together. Jake had worked hard to make this place a symbol of cooperation between species. Markets sold food from 12 different worlds. Alien children played games with human kids. Parents of all species shared stories and helped each other. The plaza buzzed with morning activity. Human farmers sold fresh vegetables while Thakari merchants offered exotic spices. A group of Corvan musicians played their strange but beautiful instruments near the fountain. Everything seemed perfect on this warm Tuesday morning. 8 year. Old Lucy Chun ran through the plaza chasing her bright red ball. Her dark hair flew behind her as she giggled and dodged between the market stalls. Her mother, Kate Chun, sat on a bench nearby talking with Mrs. Amanda Foster, who ran the local school. Both women kept one eye on their children while discussing plans for the upcoming harvest festival. Lucy's ball bounced high and rolled toward the government district where Federation security forces conducted their daily patrols. The little girl ran after it without thinking about where she was going. She just wanted her ball back so she could continue playing with her friends. Captain Zexhari of the Veltar security forces marched through his assigned patrol route. The towering insect-like alien stood nearly 8 feet tall with dark chitin armor covering his body. His forearms carried various weapons and equipment. His compound eyes scanned the area looking for any signs of trouble or disorder. Zexhari held strong opinions about the Federation's policy of accepting primitive species like humans. He believed only advanced civilizations deserved membership in the galactic community. Humans were newcomers who had barely learned to travel between stars. They did not belong among the great races of the galaxy. The Veltar captain carried a ceremonial drink in one of his lower hands. The blue liquid was a traditional beverage from his homeworld that he consumed during patrols. It helped him stay alert and reminded him of his superior heritage compared to the lesser species around him. Lucy spotted her ball near a fountain and ran to grab it. She was so focused on retrieving her toy that she did not notice the massive alien officer walking in her direction. Her small body collided with Zexhari's armored leg as she reached for the ball. The ceremonial drink spilled across the alien's uniform and equipment. Blue liquid stained his polished armor and dripped onto the ground. Zexhari stopped walking and looked down at the human child who had dared to bump into him. Lucy looked up at the towering alien with wide eyes. She had never seen a Veltar up close before. His appearance frightened her, but she tried to be polite like her parents had taught her. "Sorry, Mr. Lucy said in her small voice while clutching her red ball. "I did not mean to bump into you," Zexhari's compound eyes flashed with anger. No inferior being should dare to touch a Veltar officer. The spilled drink was the insult to his honor and his species. This human child had committed an unforgivable act that demanded immediate punishment. "You dare to assault an officer of the Federation," Zexhari hissed through his mandibles. His voice carried the harsh clicking sounds of his native language. Mixed with galactic standard speech, Lucy stepped backwards in fear. She did not understand why the alien was so angry. It had been an accident. She just wanted to say sorry and go back to playing with her friends. "I said sorry," Lucy whispered, as tears formed in her eyes. "Please do not be mad at me." The plaza had grown quiet as people noticed the confrontation between the massive alien officer and the tiny human child. Kate Chen looked up from her conversation and felt her heart skip a beat when she saw her daughter. Facing the angry Veltar. Zex single quote Hari raised one of his armored appendages high above his head. The thick chitin limb was designed for combat and could easily crush bones. His military training had taught him that disrespect toward Federation authority required swift correction. "You will learn proper respect for your betters," the alien officer snarled as his arm came down with devastating force. The blow struck Lucy in the chest and head area. Her small body flew through the air like a broken doll before hitting the stone ground 15 feet away. The sound of breaking bones echoed across the suddenly silent plaza. Lucy's red ball bounced away forgotten as her motionless form lay bleeding on the pavement. Kate Chun screamed and ran toward her daughter. Other humans in the plaza shouted in horror and anger at what they had witnessed. Several alien witnesses backed away in shock at the brutal attack on an innocent child. Dr. Sam Rodriguez heard the commotion from his medical clinic across the plaza. The human doctor grabbed his emergency kit and rushed to help. He pushed through the crowd and knelt beside Lucy's broken body. Blood pooled beneath the child's head. Her left arm bent at an unnatural angle. Her breathing was shallow and irregular. Sam checked for a pulse and found it weak but present. Multiple ribs were broken, and she likely had serious internal injuries. Call for an emergency transport now. Sam shouted to Jake Morrison, who had run down from his office. She needs surgery immediately. Zexhari stood over the scene, showing no emotion except mild irritation. He adjusted his uniform and prepared to continue his patrol as if nothing important had happened. In his mind, he had simply corrected improper behavior from an inferior species. Kate Chun cradled her unconscious daughter while tears streamed down her face. "Lucy, please wake up," she whispered. "Mommy is here." "Please be okay." More humans gathered around the scene. Their faces showed anger and disbelief at what the alien officer had done. Several Federation security cameras had recorded the entire incident from multiple angles. Within minutes, the footage began spreading through human communication networks. The image of a massive alien striking down a helpless child sparked rage across every human settlement in Federation space. Jake Morrison looked at Zexhari with cold fury. "You just attacked an innocent child over spilled drink. The inferior being assaulted a Federation officer," Zexhari replied without emotion. Appropriate discipline was administered. The alien officer walked away to continue his patrol while Lucy Chun lay dying in her mother's arms. Medical transports arrived to rush the child to the hospital, but the damage was already done. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone hurt humanity's children. Admiral Lisa Parker was reviewing fleet reports aboard the Earth Defense flagship when the emergency transmission arrived. The decorated naval officer had served in 3 major conflicts and helped negotiate humanity's entry into the Federation. But nothing prepared her for what she saw on the screen. The footage from New Haven played in horrifying detail. A massive alien officer striking down a small human child over spilled drink. Lucy Chun's broken body flying through the air before hitting the stone ground with a sickening thud. The sound of her mother's screams echoing across the plaza. Lisa watched the recording 5 times. Before her hands stopped shaking, she had seen combat footage from the border wars and witnessed the destruction of entire star systems, but this single act of cruelty cut deeper than any battlefield horror. "Communications, get me General Stone at Earth Command immediately," Lisa ordered her. "Bridge crew?" "Priority Alpha encryption." The holographic display showed General Rick Stone's weathered face moments later. The veteran soldier was already watching the same footage that had reached every human military installation in Federation space. "Admiral, I assume you have seen the incident from New Haven." Stone said without preamble. His voice carried the cold anger of a man who had spent 40 years protecting human interests. "That creature deliberately tried to murder an 8-year-old girl," Lisa replied. "Have we received any response from Federation Command?" "They are calling it an unfortunate accident." Stone's jaw tightened. "Zexhari claims the child attacked him first and he acted in self-defense." Lisa felt rage building in her chest. Self-defense against a 40-pound child who said sorry for bumping into him. "The Federation Council is requesting patience while they conduct a full investigation," Stone continued. "They estimate it will take 6 to 8 months to reach a conclusion." 8 months while that monster walks free. Lisa's voice became dangerously quiet. "What about the child?" Dr. Rodriguez managed to stabilize her, but she remains in critical condition. Stone's expression darkened. "Multiple skull fractures, broken ribs, internal bleeding, and severe brain trauma. Even if she survives, there may be permanent damage." The 2 officers stared at each other through the holographic connection. Both had children and grandchildren of their own. The thought of any alien creature harming their families triggered protective instincts that went back to humanity's earliest days. "How long to mobilize the Earth Defense Fleet?" Lisa asked. 72 hours for full battle readiness," Stone replied immediately. "Colonial militias are already arming themselves without waiting for orders." President Alex Murphy called an emergency session of the Human Defense Council 6 hours after the footage reached Earth. The highest-ranking officials in human government gathered in the secure conference room beneath the Capitol building. Secretary of Defense Nancy Blake was the first to speak after they viewed the New Haven recording. "Zexhari has filed an official report claiming Lucy Chun deliberately assaulted him with intent to cause harm. The Federation is treating this as a legitimate use of force. They expect us to believe an 8-year-old girl posed a threat to an armored alien warrior." President Murphy's voice carried barely controlled fury. "What is the medical report, Doctor?" Amanda Foster entered with a datapad and grim expression. "I have analyzed the strike pattern and force measurements from the security footage. Zexhari used enough kinetic energy to kill an adult human male. This was attempted murder, not self-defense." The revelation sent shockwaves through the council chamber. This was not simply excessive force or an accident. The alien officer had deliberately tried to murder a human child in broad daylight. "What is the current status of Lucy Chun?" Murphy asked. "She remains in a coma with extensive brain damage," Dr. Foster replied. "The doctors are doing everything possible, but her chances of full recovery are slim." Foreign Minister Carl Watson leaned forward. "The Federation ambassador has requested a meeting to discuss diplomatic solutions. They are concerned about rising tensions in human territories." "Tensions, General." Stone's voice cut through the room like a blade. "They attack our children and worry about tensions." President Murphy stood and walked to the large window overlooking the capital city. Millions of humans lived and worked below, while their children played in parks and schools. The thought of alien creatures harming any of them was unbearable. "How many human worlds are there in Federation space?" Murphy asked. 237 colonies plus Earth," Watson replied. "Nearly 8 billion human citizens under Federation protection." Murphy turned back to face the council. "What protection did Lucy Chun receive from the Federation?" The room fell silent as the implications became clear. Federation membership was supposed to guarantee safety and justice for all member species. Instead, a Federation officer had attempted to murder a human child, and the government was protecting the attacker. "I want all human military assets placed on high alert immediately," Murphy ordered. "Begin quiet mobilization of our colonial defense forces, Mr. President. That could be seen as preparation for war," Watson warned. "Then maybe it is time the Federation understood what war with humanity looks like." Murphy's decision was final. News of the attack spread across human communication networks within hours. Every human settlement in Federation space received the footage along with medical reports about Lucy's condition. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On the mining world of Kepler 442B, foreman Tony Walker called together the human workers. "They hurt one of our kids," he announced to the crowd. "That creature tried to kill a little girl for spilling his drink." The miners' anger was raw and primal. These were tough people who had carved homes from hostile worlds through determination and sacrifice. The thought of aliens harming human children awakened something dangerous in their hearts. "What do we do about it?" shouted Jake Phillips from the back of the crowd. "We shut down the mines," Walker replied. "No more minerals for Federation ships until they deliver justice." Similar scenes played out across dozens of human worlds. Agricultural colonies stopped food shipments to Federation planets. Medical stations refused to treat alien patients. Human engineers walked away from critical infrastructure projects. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations began to discover an uncomfortable truth. During 3 years of membership, humanity had quietly become essential to Federation operations. Human doctors staffed hospitals across dozens of worlds. Human farmers fed billions of alien citizens. Human engineers maintained the technology. that kept entire star systems functioning. Captain Maria Santos commanded a merchant vessel that transported medical supplies between Federation worlds. When she received news about Lucy Chun, her decision was immediate. "Change course," she ordered her crew. "We are going home, Captain. We have contracts to fulfill," her first officer protested. "Those contracts are void," Maria's voice was steel. "No human ship will serve the Federation until they deliver the creature who hurt that child." The economic impact began within 24 hours of the attack. Federation supply lines that depended on human vessels suddenly stopped operating. Critical shipments of food and medicine failed to reach their destinations. Stock markets across alien worlds crashed as investors realized the scope of human involvement in galactic commerce. Dr. Helen Martinez worked at Federation General Hospital treating patients from dozens of different species. When the footage reached her, she faced an impossible choice. Her oath as a doctor required her to heal the sick regardless of their species, but her heart burned with rage at what Zexhari had done. "We cannot abandon our patients," she told her human staff. "But we will not treat any Veltar until justice is served." The message was spreading across human space with unstoppable momentum. They had attacked one of humanity's children, and now they would face the consequences. The galaxy was about to learn that humans protected their young with a ferocity that could reshape civilizations. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes stood on the bridge of the destroyer UHS Retribution, watching the largest fleet in human history assemble near Earth. Ships from every human world had answered the call for justice. Military vessels formed battle groups alongside converted cargo haulers and civilian ships retrofitted with weapon systems. The sight filled Ben with both pride and determination. In 48 hours, humanity had mobilized forces that the Federation never imagined existed. Hidden shipyards had revealed their true production capacity. Merchant vessels showed their concealed armaments. Colonial militias displayed training and equipment that rivaled professional armies. "Sir, we have incoming transmission from the agricultural ship Stella's Dream," reported communications. Officer Lisa Wong. Captain Maria Santos appeared on the main screen piloting her converted merchant vessel. Her crew of traders and farmers had welded armor plating to their hull and mounted military-grade weapons on hardpoints, designed for cargo containers. "Colonel Hayes, my people want to know when we move against the creatures who hurt our children." Maria's voice carried the anger felt by millions of humans across the galaxy. "Orders will come from Earth Command soon," Ben replied. "Make sure your people understand this is not about revenge. This is about justice and protecting our future." The Federation Council chambers erupted in panic as reports flooded in about human military movements. Ambassador Kreolok of the Andalite Confederation slammed his tentacles against his speaking podium, demanding answers. "They are mobilizing for war over a single incident." Kreolok's translator struggled with his agitated, clicking sounds. "One individual's actions do not justify this massive overreaction." Federation Fleet Admiral Surthak tried to maintain order, but intelligence reports painted an increasingly dire picture. Human fleets were moving towards strategic Federation worlds. Worse yet, several non-human species were quietly expressing support for humanity's position. "The humans have withdrawn from all cooperative agreements," reported Intelligence Director Velteron. "Medical personnel are abandoning Federation hospitals. Engineers have walked away from critical infrastructure projects. Agricultural shipments have completely stopped." Prime Minister Velenak rose from his ceremonial seat, looking visibly shaken. The elderly Corvan had led the Federation for 20 years, through various crises, but nothing had prepared him for humanity's coordinated response. "How many ships do the humans have?" Velenak asked quietly. "Our estimates were apparently wrong," Admiral Surthak admitted. "They possess at least 3 times the military capacity we believed. Many of their civilian vessels are armed in battle, ready on the mining world of Kepler 442b Foreman." Tony Walker organized the local human population with military precision. Within 72 hours, they had seized control of the planet's strategic mineral reserves and orbital facilities. The Federation depends on these materials for their advanced technology, Tony explained to his team leaders. Without tritium and rare earth elements, their ships cannot operate. Similar uprisings occurred across dozens of worlds as humanity implemented a plan they called Operation Protective Shield. Human populations that seemed scattered and vulnerable suddenly revealed themselves as organized cells capable of coordinating complex military actions. Dr. Helen Martinez worked frantically in the emergency ward of Federation General Hospital as casualties began arriving from various conflicts across the galaxy. The irony was not lost on her that Veltar soldiers needed human medical expertise to survive their injuries. "Doctor, we have wounded Veltar troops requesting immediate treatment," Nurse Carol Stevens reported. Helen paused in her work saving the life of a Thakari child injured in an industrial accident. The same species that had tried to murder Lucy. Xian now depended on human doctors for survival. Treat their injuries but place them in isolation, Helen decided. I will not let politics interfere with medical ethics, but I will not pretend this is normal either. Back on Earth, President Murphy received hourly updates on humanity's growing mobilization. Colonial governors reported full compliance with withdrawal orders. Military commanders confirmed readiness for large-scale operations. Economic analysts predicted complete Federation collapse within weeks. The Federation has responded to our ultimatum, Secretary Blake announced entering the Situation Room. They refuse to extradite Zexhari, claiming member species cannot conduct their own justice. Then they have chosen their path, Murphy replied coldly. General Stone, what is the status of Operation Protective Shield? All human forces are in position. Stone reported. We control critical supply lines, shipping routes, and infrastructure across 200 star systems. Colonial militias have secured strategic resources on 47 worlds. And our intelligence regarding Federation weaknesses, better than we hoped, Stone smiled grimly. 3 years of cooperation taught us exactly how their civilization functions. They cannot survive without human agricultural production, medical expertise, and engineering support. The Federation had spent decades believing themselves superior to primitive species like humanity. They never bothered to study human psychology or understand what motivated Earth's children. Now they faced an opponent who had quietly learned everything about Federation operations, while revealing nothing about their own capabilities. Commander Steve Phillips led a squadron of converted mining ships toward the Veltar homeworld. His vessels looked like harmless industrial equipment but carried enough firepower to destroy orbital installations. Remember, people, we target military assets only, Steve transmitted to his pilots. We are not like them. We protect innocents. Even when they belong to our enemies, the attack on Veltar orbital shipyards was swift and devastating. Human forces destroyed every military installation while carefully avoiding civilian areas. The message was clear: humanity could distinguish between combatants and innocents, unlike certain Federation officers. Within hours, similar strikes occurred across the galaxy. Human forces seized control of trade routes and communication networks. They captured strategic installations and resource centers. The Federation's military response was completely ineffective against opponents who understood their weaknesses perfectly. Captain Frank Roberts commanded the defense of the human embassy on the Federation capital world. Thousands of alien civilians surrounded the building, begging for food and medical supplies that no longer arrived from human territories. Sir, what are your orders regarding humanitarian aid? Asked Lieutenant Sarah Kim. Frank studied the crowds of hungry aliens through his office window. Many had children who were suffering because of their government's decisions. Human nature demanded he help innocent beings regardless of their species. Provide emergency food and medical care to civilians. Frank ordered, but no support for Federation. Military or government personnel until they delivered justice. For Lucy Chun, the psychological impact was devastating. Humanity demonstrated they could bring the galaxy's most advanced civilizations to their knees, without committing atrocities or targeting civilians. They simply stopped helping, and Federation society began collapsing under its own weight. 3 weeks after the ultimatum expired, Federation worlds faced mass starvation medical emergencies. and complete infrastructure failure. The species that considered themselves superior to primitive humans discovered they had become utterly dependent on Earth's children. The galaxy was learning a painful lesson about underestimating humanity's capacity for organized resistance. They had hurt one human child and awakened a sleeping giant that would reshape the balance of power among the stars. Admiral Lisa Parker stood before the main communication array aboard her flagship, preparing to deliver humanity's final ultimatum. Every Federation world would receive this message simultaneously across their emergency broadcast networks. The time for negotiation had ended. "This is Admiral Parker of the Earth Defense Fleet speaking to the Federation Council and all member worlds." Her voice carried the authority of 8 billion angry humans. "You have 48 hours to surrender Captain Zexhari to human custody for trial. Failure to comply will result in immediate implementation of total economic and military isolation." The transmission ended, leaving deadly silence across Federation space. Government officials scrambled to understand what total isolation meant while military commanders prepared for humanity's next move. Federation Prime Minister Velenak convened an emergency session with his senior advisors. The elderly Corvan leader looked exhausted after 3 weeks of crisis management and growing pressure from member worlds facing starvation and system failures. "The humans demand we violate our own laws by surrendering a Federation officer to alien justice," Defense Minister Coulter argued. "We cannot set this precedent regardless of the consequences. The consequences include the complete collapse of our civilization," Economic Advisor Murthan replied grimly. 47 worlds are reporting critical food shortages. Medical facilities across 12 sectors have shut down completely. Our transportation networks have ceased functioning. "We are the Federation," Velenak declared with failing conviction. "We do not bow to threats from primitive species who barely understand space travel." 48 hours later, the galaxy learned the true meaning of human determination and organizational capability. Operation Protective Shield entered its final phase with devastating precision across 200 star systems simultaneously. Captain Maria Santos led a fleet of converted merchant vessels in seizing control of the Andromeda shipping lanes. These critical trade routes carried supplies to over 30 Federation worlds, including several core systems with billions of inhabitants. "All Federation vessels halt immediately and prepare for inspection," Maria broadcast to the convoy of alien freighters. "Any ship carrying military supplies or government officials will be impounded." The Federation escort ships were hopelessly outgunned by humans, who had spent 3 years learning their weaknesses. Within hours, the most important supply route in the galaxy belonged to Earth's forces. Commander Steve Phillips struck the Veltar homeworld's orbital defenses with surgical precision. His converted mining ships avoided all civilian targets, while systematically destroying every military installation around the planet. "Target the communication satellites next," Steve ordered his squadron. "Cut off their ability to coordinate." Resistance. The attack demonstrated humanity's technological capabilities and strategic thinking. They had studied Federation military doctrine during their membership and now used that knowledge to devastating effect. Dr. Helen Martinez found herself facing impossible choices as Federation casualties flooded into her hospital. Veltar soldiers arrived with severe injuries requiring immediate surgery, but her human staff refused to work on the same species that had tried to murder Lucy Chun. "Doctor, these beings will die without treatment," Nurse Carol Stevens reported. With obvious conflict in her voice, Helen looked at the wounded aliens and made her decision based on medical ethics rather than personal feelings. "We treat them, but they go to isolation wards under guard. I will not become like Zexhari by letting politics override my duty to preserve life." The Federation's response to humanity's ultimatum was predictably arrogant. "We cannot surrender our officers to alien courts," Prime Minister Velenak announced during a galaxy-wide broadcast. "The Federation justice system will handle this matter according to our laws and traditions." President Murphy received the Federation's refusal while standing in the hospital room where Lucy Chun remained in a coma. The little girl's injuries were healing slowly, but doctors warned of permanent brain damage that would affect her for life. They choose to protect the creature who did this rather than deliver justice, Murphy said quietly to General Stone. Implement. Total isolation immediately. The galaxy had never witnessed anything like humanity's coordinated response. Every human world acted simultaneously in perfect synchronization despite being scattered across hundreds of light years. Colonial militias seized Federation installations while merchant fleets captured vital supply routes. Captain Frank Roberts defended the human embassy on the Federation capital world as thousands of alien civilians begged for food and medical aid. The crowds grew larger each day as supply shortages became critical emergencies. Sir, we have Federation officials requesting emergency negotiations, Lieutenant Sarah Kim reported. They want to discuss humanitarian aid for their civilian populations. Frank studied the desperate aliens through his window. Many were families with young children who suffered because of their government's stubborn refusal to deliver justice for Lucy Chun. Tell them we provide aid to any civilian who needs help, Frank replied. But no assistance goes to Federation, military or government until they surrender Zexhari. The psychological warfare was as devastating as the economic blockade. Humanity demonstrated they could distinguish between innocent civilians and government officials. They provided food and medicine to alien families while allowing Federation leadership to face the consequences of their decisions. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Hayes coordinated fleet movements from his position near Earth as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Human forces had seized control of major transportation hubs, communication networks, and resource centers without firing shots at civilian targets. Sir, we have confirmation from all sectors, Communications Officer Lisa Wong reported. Operation Protective Shield is complete. The Federation has lost control of approximately 60% of their critical infrastructure. The economic impact was immediate and catastrophic. Federation worlds that depended on human agricultural production faced mass starvation within days. Medical facilities closed when human doctors and nurses abandoned their posts. Transportation systems failed when human engineers walked away from maintenance duties. Advanced alien civilizations discovered they had become utterly dependent on the species they considered primitive newcomers. Humans had quietly made themselves essential to Federation operations during 3 years of cooperative membership. Tony Walker led his mining teams in shutting down tritium production on Kepler 442b. The rare elements were essential for Federation starship engines and weapon systems. Without these materials, their military became increasingly helpless against human technological superiority. How long before their ships start breaking down? Asked his deputy Jake Phillips. Federation vessels need tritium injections every 30 days for safe operation, Tony explained. They have maybe 2 weeks of reserves before their entire fleet becomes grounded. Dr. Amanda Foster analyzed the cascade failures spreading across Federation space from her position at Earth Command. The aliens had built their civilization assuming continued human cooperation without understanding the true scope of that dependence. Their medical system will collapse first, she reported to President Murphy. Food distribution networks will fail within 10 days. Transportation and communication systems have approximately 3 weeks before complete breakdown. The Federation Council faced an impossible situation. They could surrender Zexhari and admit their justice system was flawed, or watch their entire civilization crumble under the weight of human withdrawal. Pride and arrogance battled against survival instincts as billions of innocent aliens suffered for their leaders' decisions. Humanity had demonstrated that sometimes the greatest power comes not from superior weapons or advanced technology, but from the simple willingness to stop helping those who refuse to deliver justice. The galaxy was learning respect for Earth's children through consequences that would reshape interstellar politics forever. 3 weeks after humanity's ultimatum expired, Federation Prime Minister Velenak stood before the Human Defense Council on Earth. The proud leader who once commanded the galaxy's most powerful alliance was now a broken figure begging for mercy. His ornate robes hung loose on his thin frame, and his eyes carried the weight of billions suffering across Federation space. Honorable leaders of humanity, Velenak began with his translator struggling to convey the desperation in his voice. The Federation Council has voted to transfer Captain Zexhari to human custody for trial. We formally apologize for the attack on young Lucy Chun and accept full responsibility for this tragedy. President Murphy studied the alien leader with cold calculation. The Federation's surrender was just the beginning of humanity's demands for justice. They had proven their power to bring advanced civilizations to their knees, and now intended to reshape galactic politics permanently. That is a good start, Murphy replied without emotion. But surrendering one criminal is not sufficient to repair the damage done to human trust in Federation justice. Admiral Lisa Parker stepped forward carrying a datapad containing humanity's complete list of demands. The terms had been crafted by Earth's finest legal minds and military strategists to ensure this kind of attack could never happen again. Our conditions for ending the isolation are non-negotiable, Lisa announced. First, the Federation Constitution will be amended to include a human protection clause. Any harm done to human civilians by Federation personnel will result in immediate extradition to human courts for trial. Velenak's translator clicked frantically as the implications became clear. Humanity was demanding the right to prosecute Federation officials under human law rather than alien justice systems. Second, Lisa continued, humans will have permanent veto power over any Federation military action or policy that affects member species' rights. No law can be passed without human approval. Third, the Federation will establish a Department of Human Affairs with binding authority over all interspecies relations. This department will be staffed entirely by human personnel and report directly to Earth. The terms were unprecedented in galactic history. No member species had ever demanded such extensive authority over Federation operations. Humanity was not asking for equality but for a position of oversight and control. And if the Federation Council refuses these terms, Velenak asked, though. He already knew the answer. General Stone's response was simple and terrifying. Then you can try running the galaxy without any human assistance whatsoever. No food shipments, no medical aid, no engineering support, and no trade relationships. Your civilization has maybe 10 days before complete collapse. The Federation Council had no choice but to accept humanity's demands. Within 72 hours, the constitutional amendments were ratified, and the new Department of Human Affairs was established with sweeping powers over galactic governance. Captain Zexhari was transferred to a maximum security prison on Earth where he would spend the rest of his life. His trial was broadcast across every Federation world, showing alien civilizations that humans understood justice better than those who claimed superiority. The Veltar officer showed no remorse during the proceedings. He maintained that striking Lucy Chun was justified self-defense against an inferior being who dared to touch a Federation officer. The testimony only increased human determination to prevent similar attacks. The defendant used lethal force against an innocent child over spilled drink, the human prosecutor stated during closing arguments. This was not an accident or self-defense, but attempted murder motivated by species supremacist beliefs. Zexhari received a life sentence without possibility of parole. His prison cell was designed to hold dangerous aliens safely while ensuring they understood the consequences of harming human children. 6 months after the attack, Lucy Chun finally woke up in a hospital room on Earth. The little girl was surrounded by flowers from every human world and gifts from alien leaders seeking to apologize for Zexhari's actions. "Mommy," Lucy whispered weakly as Kate Chun rushed to her bedside. "Why does my head hurt so much?" The doctors explained that Lucy would need years of therapy to recover from her injuries. The brain damage had affected her memory and motor skills, but she was alive and would eventually heal with proper treatment. Outside her hospital window, Lucy could see ships from dozens of alien species bringing tribute and formal apologies to humanity. The galaxy had learned that attacking human children carried consequences that could reshape entire civilizations. Commander Jake Morrison received promotion to planetary governor of New Haven Colony, which had become a pilgrimage site for species. Across the galaxy, alien dignitaries came to personally apologize to the Chun family and learn about human protective instincts. "Why do humans care so much about their young?" asked Ambassador Kreolok during his visit to the Memorial Plaza. Statue of Lucy Chun now stood where she had been attacked as a reminder of the price of harming innocence. "Because our children represent our future," Jake explained. "Every human child carries the hopes and dreams of our entire species. When you attack one of them, you attack all of humanity." The Federation continued to exist but operated under human oversight and guidance. Member species discovered that Earth's children possessed wisdom and compassion that complemented their technological advancement and military capability. Dr. Helen Martinez returned to her work at Federation General Hospital, but now served as Director of Interspecies Medical Ethics. Her experience treating both human and alien patients during the crisis made her uniquely qualified to prevent future conflicts. "We must never forget that every species loves their children," she told her mixed staff of human and alien medical personnel. "Our job is to heal, not to judge, but we will always prioritize the protection of innocent life." Tony Walker was appointed Human Administrator for Mining Operations across 12 Federation worlds. His experience organizing resistance on Kepler 442b demonstrated humanity's talent for coordinating complex operations across vast distances. The economic recovery was swift once humans resumed their essential roles in galactic civilization. Food shipments resumed, medical facilities reopened, and transportation networks returned to normal operation. However, the balance of power had shifted permanently in humanity's favor. President Murphy addressed the United Nations 6 months after Lucy Chun's attack. Representatives from every human world attended either in person or through holographic projection to hear about their species' new role in galactic affairs. "We did not seek to rule the galaxy," Murphy explained to the assembly. "We simply demanded justice for an innocent child who was nearly murdered by those who claimed to protect her." The Federation learned that humanity's patience has limits and our unity has strength. The galaxy was indeed safer for all children regardless of their species. Humanity had established themselves as guardians of justice and protectors of the innocent through their coordinated response to one moment of casual cruelty. Lucy Chun grew up to become a doctor herself, inspired by those who saved her life. Her story was taught in schools across human space as an example of how individual acts of evil could trigger massive consequences. When they targeted humanity's most precious treasures, the attack that began with one alien's arrogance had ended, with humanity assuming moral leadership of galactic civilization. They had proven that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from advanced technology or military might, but from the simple refusal to accept injustice against those who cannot protect themselves.